brilliant. But
Again, there is a difference between Vim, say, and VS Code, and not from the feature perspective. The difference
no,
is conceptual, and the conceptual difference is Vim is trying to. It's like an operating system. It just creates an
yeah,
environment for a developer who doesn't want to touch the mouse. By the way, that's
mm,
the initial idea behind the Vim. They just
yeah,
see that it's faster to type with the keyboard and not
yeah,
touching the mouse.
yeah.
That's very simple. That's the very simple kind of initial idea behind this entire.
Yeah, and I mean, if you learn typing, I don't know about on foreign keyboards, but H, J, K, L, they're the home keys. So if you're a typist, not even a programmer, if you're a typist, those keys you already got your fingers on. So and
Yeah,
also there, I didn't realize, but there's many programs, especially in Linux, where J is down and K is up, even if you're in like a PDF viewer.
yeah, that
So those navigation keys go from Vim to other programs.
yeah. I didn't even think. I wasn't thinking about this. This is
No.
interesting insight. Yeah, it's quite pretty
Hmm.
interesting.
So yeah, and Vim also, Vim is yeah. If you're, I've been in jobs before where you have to SSH onto another. They call it like a jump server. You jump SSH onto one server, and then on that server on the desktop they've got PuTTY, and then you SSH onto something else. In just Vim, you can just you just connect SSH, and SSH is brilliant.
Yeah, Vim is incredibly powerful in
Yeah,
cooperation with this command line access, I would say. So yeah,
yeah,
that makes it. That makes it. You know, I think that Vim is very close. Is really inspired by Unix like operating system. So Vim is something from the Linux world rather than from the Windows world. So
absolutely. And I think well, we both like it, and I don't know. Do you think it's a common kind of theme that people who use Linux or Unix Um, they've at their core they like the ethos of minimalism. They like to be minimalist because I think we both do deep down.
Mm, I think this is not a matter of minimalism in terms of trying to not to grab the entire stuff, but just try to grab
Mm,
the little one. It's more like a question regarding the core difference between the architecture of Windows and Linux. I'm not going to be diving into the details behind the kernel
no,
operating system, but just from the high level, from just a conceptual difference from the high level, from the user perspective. So Windows is very monolithic. So you
yeah,
have like one single stuff like a black box, and then you tell them to this black box like do this, do that, and you can't change whatever happening within that black box.
yeah,
While Linux is a set of very simple bricks like commands like apt command, apt-get to install packages, like the commands like cat to show the
yeah,
content of the file, like cp like copy, cp like
yeah. Sed, awk, grep, and
like
so on.
grep and
Yeah,
so on.
mm,
Well, less obviously, like those commands, if config, interface configuration
yeah,
to see the networks. And the idea is that using this sort of a commands as a sort of a bricks, we can build the shell scripts that are responsible for the entire kind of like uh, tool chains for processes in the operating system level. So
yeah,
for automation as well, by the way. So
mm,
the idea of using these commands in a custom way is because on Linux you can automate the workflow, whatever you're doing, in the way mostly appropriate, mostly like the best ever one for the purposes you're trying to for the goals you're trying to achieve. So on Windows, you don't have freedom. You're a slave there. You can only do
yeah,
a certain amount of things in exactly the same predefined way Bill Gates told
yeah,
you to do, right?
yeah,
Linux.
yeah.
But on Linux, you're not. There is no right way of doing things on Linux, and that's what I love it. So it's highly customizable operating system. So
And also it is minimalist because if you only want to use two commands, you only have to use two commands.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah,
I just don't want to call this minimalism because minimalism sounds like you're cutting a piece of meat from your own self. It's not so.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
the matter of being enough. It's just
Yes.
enough to solve the certain sort of a problem. As far as we're talking about programming as a problem solving, we
Yeah.
don't need to go for an extra mile, and we don't need to pay the cost of going extra mile because of the kernel architecture, like it happens on Windows, right?
Yeah, and it's about being efficient. We're being efficient with your time, with your code,
Yeah.
with resources, CPU, RAM, and everything. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we've covered kind of coding. We've covered kind of professional kind of dealing with clients. Let's talk about. We've briefly covered machine learning. Let's talk about kind of the plans for the future. What are the CMK plans going forward?
Only God knows. you know, you know this joke, like the project,
It sounds. Yeah, go on.
like the project with no documentation, uh,
Yeah.
and only source code is commanded. That's sort of a meme. Uh,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
imagine the situation. There is a big project, but there is no documentation. So
Yeah.
they only say like good luck, right? And then
Yeah.
you're reading the source code. So the only source,
Yeah.
the documentation, the source code. So you're reading the one line of one commentary behind the line.
Yeah.
So only Guy and I don't know, let's say only Guy and John knows what this line of code does, and then
Yeah.
500 lines below, like now only God knows. John doesn't.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Say. There's in English we talk about an oil tanker. You know, the enormous ship, and how it takes really long time to change direction.
Mm, the
So
problem,
if we're like oil tankers, how do we start changing direction slightly, or what direction are we starting to take so that we get to where we want to be in a few years' time? Personally, I'll give you an example. My personal example is that I don't think I'm good enough at maths to ever be good at machine learning, but I just want to be able to join the pieces up so that I'm good at web scraping enough to be able to provide quality data for machine learning projects. And I want to bridge that gap because there's people who are brilliant at machine learning, people who are brilliant at web scraping, but there's this kind of, I think there's a bit of a niche in between because they say garbage in, garbage out.
uh, yeah, let me start with the oil tankers first.
Yeah,
So the nature of the oil tanker is to transport the oil from one place to another, right?
yeah.
So
But if you don't steer it quickly enough, it goes into an iceberg.
yeah, so yeah, it might go to an iceberg. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be Titanic, not the oil tanker.
yeah.
Okay, so yeah, James Cameron, hello. Okay, so I think that YouTube is not about programming, not about web scraping, not about oil tankers, right? YouTube about what they call stay engaged with your community, right?
Yeah.
So the more people we have behind the channel, the more general it becomes. So
Is that
probably,
good or bad though?
yeah, yeah. So despite the fact that in tech jobs, the more specific you get, the
Mm,
more money you get eventually. On
yeah.
YouTube, I think this is on the contrary. You just have a look at the most popular videos, like
Mm,
half naked girl is dancing on the riverbank, right? So
yeah.
that's the most popular video. It's very
Mm,
general. Everyone understands that.
yeah.
And let's say even like bigger coding channels, they get in general like they start with a specific programming topics and then they talk about why Linux is better than Windows or things like that.
Yeah.
So it's okay. I just need to emphasize that the matter of switching to different topics, uh, even like in my case from web scraping to Korean and teaching English, it doesn't matter. Or in
Yeah.
your case from web scraping to machine learning, it's not the matter of being focused at the topics. It's the matter of staying engaged
Develop.
with the
Yeah.
community. So as far as you have the feedback, this community, it's like a single person and like a live or
Mm.
like a live creature. It's alive. So
Yeah. It is moving.
yeah, it's living. You kind of
Mm.
feel like all the subscriber base is like a single living creature. The more fat it comes,
Yeah.
definitely it can move that face. So it's like a Godzilla, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a Godzilla. But uh, anyway, mm, like I think that the problem of today's YouTube is YouTube started as the personal blogging service, right?
Yeah.
But what is YouTube nowadays? It's the media content platform, just like TV.
Yeah.
So what people do this media content, and they completely forgot about blogging style sort of a thing. So I
Yeah.
think that the only thing that we need to maintain all of the time is this blogging sort of a style of the videos. Why? Because only in that case we can hear back from the community,
Yeah.
and we can go for a compromise. So it's
Mm.
okay that community wants something specific from you,
Yeah.
and those not getting that we just unsubscribe, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But when I make a poll on gathering different opinions, like do you like my Korean learning content? You don't like, you don't care,
Yeah.
or you watch only those videos you're interested in. The most results were for I only watch those videos I'm interested in. Okay,
Yeah.
so no matter if you do a web scraping tutorial or go naked in front of the camera, there always would be a viewer watching that,
Yeah.
and it's okay because I think we should focus uh, on blogging rather than the
Yeah.
media. And as far as
Yeah.
we focus on blogging, in that case, it's a matter of a human interaction. By the way, I strongly believe that inappropriate business interaction arises from being focused at tech stuff too much and completely forgetting about this human kind of part, about human relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we kind of like don't forget that we're humans, if we don't, yeah, it's just if we just don't forget that we're humans in that case.
Yeah, I don't think you want 100% tech, 0% human, and you don't want it the other way either, do you? You don't want 100% human, 0% tech. I think that was what I was getting at on my video the other day when I was saying about these people with the Apple laptop and they live in an apartment.
Yeah, yeah,
And they say they're coders, but what they do is they sit on their sofa and you just see a soft focus shot of them
yeah,
typing, and that's
and it's
it.
IKEA
And
furniture as well. Yeah, IKEA.
yeah, and to be honest, there's 100 or 1,000 people out there doing that. So I, I don't see any point in really watching that because, okay, sometimes you see them go to the beach or sometimes you see them
Do you know?
go on holiday, but the rest of the time it's always the same.
Do you know how did the K drama industry solve this issue you're currently asking about? Like how to switch from uh, web scraping to machine learning. Korean K drama industry has solved this.
Go on.
So that's the way how the way I'm watching lots of K dramas, by the way.
Yeah,
So they need to make money, and that's the reason why they use product placement all along the way. But they did this.
right.
They learned this. They've learned doing this so naturally. So
Yeah,
it works the following way. So the characters are driving the Audi cars. I don't know,
yeah,
like whatever else. They're drinking like specific coffee from the cafes available in Seoul, right?
yeah,
They're going to the supermarkets like on the carts in Korea as well.
yeah,
And it feels very naturally. It doesn't even feel like a product placement. It feels like a real world story because
yeah,
the characters are not in like some separate world, but instead they're living in exactly the same world we do. So it's kind of like
yeah,
if you go outside, you will now meet that character, especially if you
yeah,
live in Korea, right? So
yeah, yeah,
that's what's happening. That's a big problem for them, by the way.
yeah,
So I think here is the same. Uh, it's okay that uh, this by product placement, we don't have to go for product placement, obviously. I mean, like trending topics is another sort of a product placement.
yeah,
So trending topics like machine learning is just okay. But the main deal why K dramas are so interesting. I can say I can watch love story TV series from whatever other country but Korea. They make me sick because they are so unnatural. But
yeah,
when I see, but when I watch Korean love story dramas, they almost make me cry. If I could cry, I would swear I would cry. Every time you watch this, you know how this is gonna end up eventually. They all
Yeah,
follow exactly the same pattern, exactly the same scenario, right? But
yeah.
every time you watch this, you really want, okay, so just tell this girl that you love her. You really have to, and you will be happy. Oh, please, really, you're living for this, and
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they are very, very sincere. So that's the deal. So on the one hand, they have this product placement all the way long, but they are so sincere. So I
Mm,
believe if when we're making a content, if we are sincere, the more sincere we are, the more it compensates this trending sort of a stuff, and then we have this compromise between like trending topics and keep being a human at the same time. So I think just being sincere is nowadays most uh, requested thing because people have so many information coming into their minds and
yeah.
hearts, very tired
Or
and sincerity. Yeah.
as the gangster rappers have been saying for 20, 30 years, keeping it real.